Colorado, Disney, San Diego, Zion National Park, Bryce Canyon, the Grand Canyon, Alaska, Iceland. Why am I talking about all of these different places? These are places that my family has gotten the opportunity to go visit over the last 4 years, and it has been awesome creating memories and just getting to share all that excitement with them. Now, none of this would have been possible if I hadn't made a very important decision 6 years ago, and that decision was to create a budget. And no, stay with me. Don't leave. I know budgets don't sound very fun, but I gotta tell you, and it wasn't at first, but the longer that I stuck with it and the more that I got to see kind of how it allowed me to spend our money the way that we wanted to, like on vacations and trips and things like that, the more exciting it actually got and the cooler that it got. So what I want to do in this video is go through the spreadsheet that I personally created for our family's finances and that has literally changed our lives so that in hopes that you can either steal it page for page or at least take the pages and pieces that work best for you. So let's get into it.
Money mantra.
So I do create a new spreadsheet every year, and you can see the title up here. I just call it B 2026, whatever the year is. And what's really neat about that is I actually have all of these from when I first started back in 2020, and they are all sitting there in my drive. So it's kind of cool to go back and see kind of how much the budget has changed and grown over time. But this is kind of headquarters right here. So I've got all of our monthly payments right in this column, and they add up. Here are how much my husband and I are both making each month from each of our paychecks. And the next little area is debt. So how much we owe. Currently, the only things we owe on is our house and also my car. I could have bought that outright, but I'm an investing freak and figured I could make more with the low interest rate that I ended up getting. Here is our breakdown from paycheck to paycheck. So this is what my husband's paycheck covers, and here's what mine covers. But I think the true magic in this has got to be down here where I figured out our fixed costs versus how much we're able to save, how much we can spend on wants, investing, etc. And this is the magic number right there, this 49% fixed cost. This is the thing that allows us to have the wiggle room to actually do all of the other things that you see on the spreadsheet. We wouldn't be able to save the way we save. We wouldn't be able to spend frivolously the way that we can. We wouldn't be able to invest the way that we can if it weren't for keeping these fixed costs super low. And that honestly has made all the difference. We went from living paycheck to paycheck to planning vacations. So that's my first tab. So just again, a general headquarters for all of our information. The second one is going to be our paycheck tab. So what I did here is I split out every single paycheck that we have. So two for my husband, he gets paid bi-monthly, so on the 1st and 15th every month, and then I get 26 paychecks per contract, so per year. So most of the time I'm only getting paid twice a month, but there are some random months that are longer that we get 3 paychecks. So if I were to have an extra large paycheck for some reason, what I would do is I would add that money straight to the money that would be with my paycheck normally. So let's say that I got a bonus of $1,000. I would change this value to be 3,766. And so that's how I account for like random income that might come in. And then what I would do is I would make a line in here that would then account for where I want that money to go, or I would add it to one of these that is appropriate depending on what's going on at the time. So all of this adds up. I have a spot to like show how much money, this is how much money there should be left over that month, and this is how much money is actually sitting in my bank account. I will check this decently often. Obviously, when someone gets paid and it's time to switch over to the next thing, I will do that. But otherwise, I might get into this once a week, maybe twice. It really depends on what's going on. Like, is there a lot of things that we're spending money on? I'm going to get in here more often. If there's not so much, I'm not going to be in here as often. So this can be as involved as you want it to be or not as involved. And you might be looking at it going, I don't want to track every little thing. I'm telling you, you're going to have to at least to start with. You've got to get a feel of where your money is going or you're just never going to get anywhere. So in this next tab, this is our retirement tab. And as well as retirement, I also have sections for each of our kids. So we are a family of five, so three kids and my husband and I. And so what this is tracking is how much money is going into our Roth accounts. So this isn't the total amount of money that we invest. We each have pensions, state pensions, or federal pensions that we're going to get. So money is coming out of our paychecks for those each month pre-tax. This is more of a post-tax thing. So again, these are the Roths for my husband and I, and then these are 529 plans for my children. And I did some research to make sure that I was maxing out all the additional contributions that the state would allow. So do some research on that if you're interested in starting 529 plans for your kids. And then that's how I made a decision on how much to contribute to each of theirs. Down at the bottom is how much we've put in so far, and then how much we need to hit our goals for the year. I treat this like a bill. Like I don't mess around with this. This money comes out, it goes. There's no reason that I should be dipping into it for anything else, and that's a tip that I would give to you too. Next tab I have is my electricity. So because electricity is a variable bill, I like to keep track of it separately. If this isn't necessary for you, it's not necessary for you. And so what I do is I put how much we're budgeting, and usually that's the amount that the electricity bill is that month. But what I'm trying to get used to, we did buy a new house in the last 2 years. Another thing that, keeping track of my money and working through this budget for a number of years has allowed us to do. And so I'm still getting used to how much it's going to be each month and how much to actually budget in a lot. So what this allows me to do is take the electricity out of all of our other bills, get an average, and then make sure that that average is being reflected in our budget on the paycheck sheet so that I'm not saying, oh, electricity is only this much, and it's really like double that, and then blowing it every single time. So some of these variable bills, I think it does help to just make a separate tab, keep track of them for a little while, and get a feel for what they're really costing you. And it's not just a feeling, then it's actually numbers that are supporting it. Would I like my electricity bill to be lower? Yes, 100%. But is it better that I accept and know what it really is? Yes, because again, that keeps that other money free for me to do what I want with it. So my next tab is oil. So heating our house is another one of those variable expenses, and this is one of those that I remember um, a number of years ago just getting super stressed every time we had to fill the oil tank up. All of a sudden, trying to come up with $600 or whatever it was, and figuring out where that was going to come from to take care of and pay it. And so sometimes it was on a credit card for a little while. Sometimes I might have the savings and I could just pay it off. I got tired of that stress and that anxiety. So what I do here is I track whenever we do spend money on oil. We have a pellet stove now, so you can see where I'm keeping track of how much we're paying for in pellets because I'm really interested to see if that's offsetting the oil at all. Same as the electric bill. Over here, I have an average. So I have a feel for how much money I need to put aside each month so that I am covering this when it comes up. And because I've been doing this for a number of years, another thing that I've happened to do was I over budgeted for my first couple of years. And instead of taking that over budgeted amount and spending it on something, I actually kept it and I've let it roll over so that if the first few months of the year, of course, are colder, and so therefore we're using more heat and stuff. So I might not have enough money budgeted already in January if I'm starting over with the new year. And so this rollover amount is what this 1500 is from, and that has made a huge difference. Now, I have had some years that I way over budgeted for this. So I think actually going over from 2025, if I had kept all the money that I budgeted for heat, I think it would have been about 2500. So what I will do is if I do totally over budget and I realize that I don't need to have that huge of a buffer, is I will take that extra buffer and I will use that towards something. Like maybe it does go towards a vacation. Maybe it buys something for the house that we wanted. Maybe we do something for the kids, but so you can treat yourself a little bit, but down here I can see how much I'm actually spending, how much I'm budgeting, and then the difference between the two, and I can kind of monitor it. It doesn't happen, but if it were to get a little low, I would try to maybe pull some money from savings to create that same cushion again. So, another tab that I like to have. The next one is gas for our vehicles. So again, since it's one of those variable expenses, and we have two vehicles that we're running. Well, kind of three. We have a truck and a car, or I have an SUV now. And then we also have a motorcycle that my husband tries to drive in the summertime because it's way nicer on gas, especially with the way gas has been lately. And so what I do here is I take the amount that we budget. I then take how much we spend each different time we fill up for gas, and I pop that in here, and then that money, then I can keep track of how much we spent for gas. And you can see sometimes it's not perfect. If I go over to this second paycheck here, sometimes we go over. And so I'll do one or two things here, depending on how close I am to the next gas money coming in, the next paycheck. I will either find somewhere in my miscellaneous category typically and cover the little bit of a difference. You can say I only went over by $6 here on this month, or I might dip into the next month's budget to kind of cover that little difference that I need to cover. I've just gotten a good feel over time how much money we're spending. One of the changes that our move to our new house made for us is that my husband drives a lot less in his truck. And so that has been amazing. And so when we moved, there was a little bit of adjustment there where I was able to lower what we were putting aside for gas. And then at the same time, I had to start budgeting more for electricity because our new house has a hot tub. So you give and you take, you got to move things around. This budget is not going to be static. Like you're going to create a budget, realize a couple things don't work, or just that a couple things need to change because your life changes, and then you should make those changes. It's the active like ignoring and not analyzing and adjusting that's going to get you in trouble, and that's going to be the thing that makes budgets not work. So that's our gas. Next is that miscellaneous category I was talking about. So this is going to be just any random thing that kind of pops up in any given paycheck cycle. So that's how much I budget for it. And then here's where I mark down what it is that we spent on it. And then I like to put what it was because when I'm cycling through my credit card to make sure everything gets paid off, it helps me a lot to be like, okay, this is what this arbitrary number comes from. So I used to try to do it without that. So I used to just put 20, 565, whatever it was. And then when I was in my credit card, I would notice there'd be more than one $20 charge. So I was sitting there going, okay, did I pay that $20? What $20 is this applying to? It got super confusing. And so I started getting better about it and actually putting the description with it so that I can tell what it is that I've actually paid and what I need to still pay. Our category, and I do one of these. Each of these represents each paycheck of mine because my paycheck covers this portion of our budget. So that's how I know when to start a new one, if you will. The next category is groceries. Again, another one of those things that the amount will fluctuate. And so I keep track of that here. Here's how much we're budgeting, and this is for 2 weeks, family of five. It's been hard. It has been really hard, and I feel you if you're going, yeah, how on earth are you doing that? It's a lot of planning. We're getting into summer soon. My kids are going to be out of school by mid next week. And so I will adjust this budget to be higher once we start their home more and start eating more food. So I'll add up everything too. It also lets me know, hey, I went over. And to be honest, if there's a category that I go over the most, it's probably food. If you look at these top three paychecks there to start the year off, I didn't go over by much. So I really try to keep it pretty close. My last tab is my passive income tab. So this is where I try to make money on the side for my family. Nothing is truly passive, so I gotta clear that up here real quick. Is where I've just tried to get our money to grow a little bit more. So you'll notice some of these are like credit card rewards. So again, I use my credit card. Anything I can purchase on my credit card that I'm gonna buy anyway, like my electricity bill, is going on my credit card. I might as well get some extra money for that same $400 I'm going to have to spend anyway. And so I keep track of those here. And then I have some investment accounts that also pay me interest and high yield savings accounts that pay me interest over time. And so my last couple tabs are all investing tabs, kind of net worth, my options trading, stuff that kind of doesn't fit into a budgeting video. But if that does sound like something that's interesting and helpful, let me know and I'll make a video on it. But really the point I want to get across is that when it comes to budgeting, don't worry about trying to be perfect and don't get all wrapped up in how do I start, what do I need, et cetera, et cetera. Just start. Just get something down, get a feel for where your money's going, and go from there. Hopefully, you found this helpful. And if you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.